Okay. Hey, this is a good audience for this time in the morning after some heavy partying. So, morning, I'm Shiv Malik. I'm an author of a couple of books, a former investigative journalist for The Guardian, and now the founder of Pool for the last couple of years. So, I've seen a few people do this, which has changed the title of the talk. So I'm still going to talk about porting data and signing in with Ethereum, but I want to change the framing of that talk to this. What's Web3 without the speculation? What's Web3 without the speculation? So slightly different, but we will get into those other topics. I want to kick off by asking a very simple question. I know it's the morning session, and we've all been partying hard last night. Yes? Partying hard? No? No. So boring. Okay, all right. Well, I wasn't also partying hard. I went to bed at 9:30. Despite that, I'm going to start by asking something tough. If you couldn't get rich off of it, what existing products in crypto would significant numbers of people use? If you couldn't get rich off of it, what existing products in crypto would significant numbers of people use? So let me break that down, and then I'm going to ask the audience. So I use Uber, Google Docs, Twitter, Gmail, Spotify, Netflix, PayPal, Calendly, Slack, iTunes. I use all of these products without any expectation of becoming a millionaire. Some I love, others I don't. I fucking hate iTunes, for example, but I still use it every day. It's really annoying. I give most of them money or even transact with third parties through them, like with Uber or Deliveroo or PayPal. But again, I don't expect to get rich. So what about Web3? I've been in this space since 2016. I started off by using Coinbase to purchase ETH for $9, 1 ETH for $9. I wish I'd bought maybe 5. Then rapidly moved to 10x margin trading with XRP on Poloniex. Those were my true DGen days. I set up MetaMask account. I loved it. I worked with for 2 Web3 companies. And I once also had to hide Gavin Wood in my hotel bathroom. That's a true story. So I'm no crypto hater, right? I love Uniswap and MetaMask, though I know people grit their teeth about MetaMask. I don't know why. I love it. It's great. And I marvel at Uniswap and Aarve's technical brilliance and UX accomplishments. I use all of them. But I use them to trade tokens. And I trade tokens so I can increase my wealth, though that often doesn't work out for me so well. So again, what would I just use for the utility, not ultimately to get rich? So I'm going to ask the audience. Any ideas? I've been told one thing. I've asked this question to about 30 people at this conference beforehand for the last couple of months. I had one, I think, really solid answer. Any answers from the audience? ENS was another maybe answer, but I think that's like a little kind of status symbol on top of the other stuff that you do with everything else. Sorry, Makoto and Nick and the rest of the team. I have an ENS, I love you guys. But yeah, I didn't think that qualified in my view. IPFS, interesting. Okay, I'm going to come on to that. But maybe, yes. Okay. I had stable. Okay, go on, because you shut it out before. Go ahead. What would be your answer? Live peer, of course. It's actually being used. Okay, so there's a couple of things here. That's good. That's better. That's more answers than I've had in the last 3 months from people. Maybe I'm asking the wrong people. I should clearly be here in this audience more often. Stable coins, international transfers. There are a few things. But given a kind of $1 trillion market cap currently, if I believe, if I'm right, or $3 trillion at the peak, is that really good enough? Is that really great? Is that really good enough, right? Tens of billions in funding, and yet most of it seems to be based on speculation. And sometimes that gets pretty embarrassing. If you talk to other people in the outside world, you all know how Web3's reputation has changed in the last few years from up to down. So we need to go back to basics. Always go back to basics. What can crypto offer the world in terms of product utility? Apart from speculation, what does Web3's technology do so well that Web2 just can't compete? Aside from speculation, what is something that the Ethereum community can give the world that is 10x better than Web 2? We really need answers. After a lot of thinking, this is at least what we, the pool team, came up with. One, Web 3 is impeccable at self-custody of assets. It's IPFS, for example. But that can be more than just money and more than just JPEGs. What about turning data into a currency, for example? It's also good, though not brilliant yet, at peer-to-peer or disintermediate connections. That's your live peer, I guess, in a sense, right? At scale, specifically one-to-one or many-to-one. When you've jumped through the hurdles, Web3 is actually pretty convenient in that way. And finally, smart contracts. Programmable distribution of assets allows for new business models, programming values, ownership, and value distribution in new forms, not just the ICO, kickback. I don't know if anyone knows Kickback. It's one of my favorite projects. That's Makoto from ENS. That's the two crossovers. See, that guy's really smart. Again, great for events and changing that business model around event attendance. Uniswap is itself a very new business model in that sense. I think that's also why it's so exciting. I've added in feelings, emotions, sentiments at the bottom associated with all of these three, because I think it's important just to kind of allow people to communicate these concepts more widely. Maybe not the best, but self-custody, it's mine. Peer-to-peer connections, I hold the power of communications. There's no one in the middle of that. And finally, wonder and explore and new futures in terms of new business models. It gets people excited out there, it really does. So we've tried for the last 6 months, after a heavy pivot, to build something that can draw upon all three of these things. Not perhaps all at once. And we're being pretty light, if I put my hands up, in terms of what we're deploying in terms of Web3 tech. We really want to be laser focused on our members and our customers' needs, and it's been an interesting balancing act. But the challenge for us is, can we create a product that plays to Web3's strengths, as I've outlined there, but also can get absolutely widespread traction, but whose success isn't in any way predicated on plugging into the speculative aspects and the speculative economy that Web3 has built so successfully. Like it or love it. Sorry, love it or hate it. But perhaps this tweet sums up a lot of what we're doing. And I don't personally know Camus, but he says, I want a Web3 super app. I want to control my data, money, ID, digital life. I want to be a stakeholder in my own economic digital sovereignty. New business models, self-custody, peer-to-peer if you want, or control, convenience, value. So this is what we've built. It's being released in October as a browser plugin and an iOS mobile app, and it's called Pocket. Obviously, lots of people will come up with their own ideas around those three things, and lots of people already have, but this is just what we've built. What does it do? What does it do? It's an app that allows people to trade their data for rewards directly with brands, and it gives you insights into all of your data that you'll be easily able to port and, for example, plug into ChatGPT's code interpreter. Consent for trading that data is controlled by a public-private key that is also controls an Ethereum EOA. So what data does Pocket retrieve and handle? It joins a user's browsing and banking data with a single ID. Again, that's your EOA address. It helps you remain pseudonymous, and turns that data into interest profiles, which can be shared by the Pocket member in a few clicks. We think Pocket will bring together those three elements: self-custody, peer-to-peer connection and login, and new business models pretty well. Some of those elements, like the peer-to-peer connections, won't be there at first because they require scale and network effects. Others, more overt crypto elements like the wallet, will bring in later next year. And users will be able to switch that on or keep it off, whatever they want to do. It'll be their choice. So let's go through those three elements and how they apply to Pocket. Start with self-custody. I like this quote. I totally ripped it off from Lane Rettig's talk on Tuesday. Everyone can create money. The problem is to get it accepted. That's Hyman Minsky, the economist. It's true of money, but it's also true of data, for example. Everyone can create data, and we actually do all day and every day. The problem, if you want to have any external value, is getting it accepted by others. This is actually what Tim Berners-Lee is working on right now, a data vault with his Solid project. But it's facing massive issues with adoption. The foundational questions from others tend to be, what data? What can you do with it? How do you integrate it into our needs? How do you get consent? Why would people want to store and trade that data in the first place? At the end of the day, it's very deflating. It's really deflating for users when you say, oh, look, you can self-custody their data, but then there's no utility associated with that custody. It just becomes a fancy and very unnecessary storage unit. So that's why we've enabled Pocket members to trade their personal insights, not the raw data, directly with brands if they want to. In fact, yesterday, we just signed a partnership with the Times of London, for Pocket members to do just this. We're putting the value of that data to work by ensuring it's accepted if the private key holds, and the private key will hold the consents, right? The signature using a private key will deliver the consent. Members, our CTO, Connor Deegan, has to remind me that we don't actually need public-private key pairs attached to a blockchain. He's right, of course. Lots of Web2 apps have encryption. But putting them on a public blockchain makes the system accountable and enables far more use cases for us. So it's sort of a no-brainer. We also, to answer your IPFS question or point, tried really hard to store and retrieve that data in IPFS via Ceramic and make this, in a sense, perfect self-custody, or even do it on device. But in short, there have been massive issues with all of those implementations, mostly around latency and actually projected cost. If you can't work out those two things, then it gets really, really hard to deliver these systems properly. But in short, there have been massive issues, with all of those implementations. So we now store those profiles ourselves on AWS, which is a real shame, but it's a start. Again, trying to ensure that we actually deliver utility rather than just saying, right, let's just keep using Web3 tech until we end up with zero adoption because this app is not usable. Even so, we think we're giving individuals control, verging on genuine self-custody of data that can be traded and traded widely, which is why it's 10x better than Web 2. So what about P2P connections? And I think this is the most interesting part for Pocket. One of my favorite applications in crypto is just connecting my wallet to Uniswap via Aave, or Aave, sorry. It feels really magic. It feels really empowering, and it's incredibly convenient. I don't know who here also felt that when they first started doing that, right? Just kind of connecting into Uniswap, connecting into Aave, and feeling that connection. Okay, we're coming up to time, but this is our North Star as well, which is Sign In with Pocket. SSO is one of the most user-friendly ways to ensure that login. Why shouldn't, in a sense, CWE be the protocol we use to replace Auth0 or zero OAuth and recreate a new feature of SSO? Stuff is really hard to get adopted, but big commerce brands and publishers aren't just going to install SSO outside of the OAuth stack. So why do it in this case? From their perspective, it's specifically to gives users the opportunity to share and connect much more without all the the required form filling. And that for them leads to much higher cart conversion, much better brand connection, and an account formation for brands, all of which is incredibly important as cookies start to go. Final thing, new business models. I'm running out of time. I've got a minute left. I've got less than a minute left. Oh, God. Once you bed in Web3, there's so much you can do and start experimenting with. That's what we've going to be heading out into. So for Pocket, that could mean seamless micropayments to pay per article, for example, hyper-personalized soul-bound discount tokens, and token-gated access through, for example, Shopify. And also, finally, a pretty good verification for humans, PGV if you want, because the banks, in this case, when people connect their bank accounts, they've already been verified as humans by them. And of course, we've already got data trading. So we don't have time for questions, I don't think, But thank you very much. That was a bit of a race through all of that. Thanks a lot.